Good to go?
Yeah.
All right. So, hi everyone. I'm Mike Cromwiller. I am the owner and sole proprietor of Zephyr Aerial Systems, the company that runs the whole Nepal robotics project. That makes me the leader of the project, and I'm a rising freshman at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute studying aeronautical and mechanical engineering. So these are my advisors. It's actually not updated, but you can see how many people I've been working with over the past 2.5 years. And the list is actually like twice as long now because of all the other people who have signed on to the project to offer their technical assistance. You can see it's actually a wide range. So you've got a lot. We have Nepal liaisons, STEM coordinators in Nepal. Psychologists also come in and talk about the effects of drones in Nepal along with the earthquake as well. So it was really cool. We actually had a psychologist on our team go to Nepal after the earthquake to see how everyone was doing. So the mission statement. The Nepal Robotics Project is an ambitious, global spanning, collaborative robotics project between myself and a school in Nepal where we are working on a drone to find people in avalanches. In addition to that, I'm also just teaching them the basics of drone technology like we're doing here today. So that's one of my big things. I want them to actually know how to use the technology in addition to the purpose that we are using them for. So why did I choose this? In April of 2014, there was an avalanche that killed, I think it was like 40 people, and it's actually really bad whenever something like this happens. Avalanches occur actually pretty frequently there, and what happens is the economy is almost entirely tourism, and when tourists die, it creates uncertainty and it really hurts the economy. So what we want to do is have this technology out there to help save lives and provide certainty for people who are traveling in the country, as well as the people who live there, because it's not only tourists who are dying these, it's Sherpas, it's just travelers, it's people who want to explore their own country. So collaboration, this project was designed from the ground up as a collaborative effort. We do work with the school very frequently. In fact, I was actually just talking with the students yesterday. They did an interview with a news company recently to show off the drones that they've been working on over the past few months. I chose the Kanjiro School in Nepal, which is based in Kathmandu, because when we had a friend over there who knew the head of the school, he approached the head of the school and talked about the project that I was working on, and he immediately signed on and got a group of students who were interested. So, yeah, and collaboration, I visited Nepal in March of 2015 and 2016 to sort of reinforce that I am committed to this project on the U.S. side and that I really do want to work with the Nepali students. So Garuda and Windhorse. The names are actually kind of fun. They're named after mythical creatures in Nepali culture, which I thought was pretty cool. So the Garuda is a bird, a mythical bird, and it was actually a turret quad frame. You can see it's actually almost identical. I'm sorry, this photo is pretty tiny, but you can see it's almost identical to the frames you're using today. I would like to know that this testing for me while you're out there. He was eventually the one who did go up to Everest and fly that drone while I was over in Annapurna. And it was, it was a really good collaborative effort. We both got a lot of really good data about sort of battery life at different altitudes and how the control changes as you really, change the height and sort of environmental conditions like wind and heat, all that good stuff. The only thing is, at this time, export control law for drone technology was very stringent, and we actually had a lot of struggles getting the proper approvals. And at the end of the day, we actually had to remove important functions like auto stability and GPS capabilities because the State Department would not let us take the drones out of the country with that technology.
I mean, you could actually, the microprocessors themselves, they're not export control, are they?
Yeah.
Even the processors, even though most of the stuff is like open source, available from all over the world. If you, in fact, half of it comes from China.
Exactly. No, it's funny because all the parts of my drone came from China, but
once it hit the U.S., it's considered export control, even though, again, like Arduinos and Nappies, all that open source, everyone in the world knows about it, they use it.
Yes.
Was it the GPS modules? Or was it just the fact that...
It was just the
fact
that we could do that.
It's a circuit board, so we're just going to say, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
And I'll talk about what changed later that actually allowed me to bring it on my second trip over. But here's a video. So I think I showed this to some of you, but I definitely wanted everyone to see it. So this was the flight that my brother did up at Everest. Full screen?
Yeah.
Can we turn off that white wall?
Yeah.
fly up there from?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Also the highest flight.
How high are you here?
We're at about 18,700 feet. So
That's on the ground.
And what was the
well, no,
elevation
500
of
off the
the
ground,
survey?
700 in the air. Sorry.
How far off the ground?
18,500 feet.
How high was the drone above the ground? Above the mountain.
Probably around 200 to 300 feet. We didn't do the exact calculations because it was only RC controlled, but from line of sight, that's sort of how we assumed.
At that altitude, you got thinner air, so your motors are working harder to create your lift.
Exactly. So the drone's actually having a really hard time up here because again, it doesn't have auto stability. The winds are crazy high. You can see it's a valley,
Right.
and the wind's knocking it around pretty badly. I should have included the third-person video so you could actually see it, but it's kind of funny because you just sort of see it go whoosh, and then it's pretty good to see.
Battery life and temperature is a concern or not?
So I was actually talking with Dr. Pandolfi about this, and temperature actually only causes, I believe he mentioned about 5% decreased efficiency. The actual big thing was the power, so...
You're just gunning it, pretty much just sucking up and you can.
Oh, yeah.
Just stay afloat, okay.
Yeah, especially with this guy, that octocopter was about 60% throttle just to get lift at altitude, so...
What were you flying for a camera?
Pardon?
What was the camera?
It was like a knockoff GoPro.
Yeah.
Basically something that we didn't worry about losing if the drone crashed, which it does at the end of this video. It was like a little, I kind of want you guys to see it, but you can see it kind of like gets thrown up and then the battery's cut out pretty soon.
So you're 2.5 minutes, not because you just want to get off the winds, just because you're running out of power.
Yeah. And wait for it.
Really struggling.
Yeah.
Yep. But you did recover. But you were able to recover it, right, Mike?
Yep.
Yeah.
What a way to go.
How far were you guys?
How far? Apparently it was about 1,000 meters out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And then the winds. How like fierce were the winds in terms of where you struggled?
It wasn't terribly fierce at at ground level, from what I could tell. It was mostly once you started getting up there, it's where winds started to get.
And since you didn't have telemetry, it was hard to really see that.
Exactly.
Right.
And you didn't have a flight log from that?
It doesn't generate a flight log now.
It's a simple one. This is the one you send in country. As it is now, you're fighting export control, so you're not going to get the most advanced software.
Exactly.
Because it was RC, so pretty much it's just straight crystal.
Yeah,
And
what autopilot did you have? Did you end up having to use that they'd actually let you take?
It was like a really bare bones.
It was probably
knockoff
just a
APM.
stabilizer.
Oh, it was?
It was like well, the configuration was APM, but it had a lot less features than the APM.
Oh, they actually gave you firmware that you had to use, or?
No, it was like, you know how they have the Pix Mini and the APM Pro and how they're a little bit different in their features?
Yeah.
It's basically like that. It was like
Oh,
an
wow.
APM board with those features. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
And just kind of a side note for the temperature thing. The big problem with temperature, like a really cold temperature, it's not that the battery doesn't have as much capacity. It's that the internal resistance gets really high, so it just can't deliver the same amount of current. The voltage will drop really quickly, and you just can't fly as well.
so far vendors and high motor climates. And
Yeah.
You cut your cranking average because you can't get it out of here.
So what I learned. So this is the drone after it crashed. You can see it fell about 300 feet, give or take. Again, we didn't have exact heights, but the only thing that was damaged was one arm, and that was a $15 replacement, which again proves like these things are pretty robust, and even if they do break, the cost isn't brutal. Again, components are usually damaged in transit. So here was the big thing on my side. It was really difficult for me to get data from my drone because one of the motors was actually damaged in transit, so it wasn't really spinning as fast. I could only fly it for 30 to 40 seconds max before, the control was so difficult that it would just fly off to the side. And again, travel costs are pretty high. It costs about, I want to say, $1,500 just for the plane ticket, and everything else in country is actually pretty inexpensive. It's mostly just the plane ticket to get over there. So documentation. this is where I started to overhaul how I recorded all of my information. I really started to take more pictures, keep lists of parts that I was using, even keep an expense report to see exactly what the parts cost at that time. I started making time lapses. I just had a little GoPro, and then I'd start, working on my parts. And in addition to that, I also made a website, nepalrobotics.org, where you can actually keep track of both sides of it. So the Nepali students will occasionally update the blog. The last time they updated it, I believe, was Tuesday, and then I updated it Monday. So yeah, it stays pretty up to date. It's mostly just like quick stuff like, hey, I built this on the drone, or hey, I just had this developed for my project. Like when I started working with Kashmir World Foundation, I announced that to people who read the website, and you get 20 hits a day, which is, for a blog is not bad for,
Do the students know English?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, so Nepal English is the only language that they learn as their second language. The U.S. government actually made their educational system.
So Carlos, since you're local and Foxcroft is local, the students from Nepal are coming in September. I think it would be pretty cool if we coordinated something and did something here and Skyped you in, because I know you'll be at the university, but I'm sure your dad will be able to make it if we did something. But I think it would be really cool to bring them in and, yeah, so they sent me an email. I think they want us to schedule something between the 29th and the 3rd of October, so we have a few days to look at, and I just got that, I think, yesterday. But I think it would be really, really cool if we can coordinate something. Unfortunately, you guys are on the West Coast, but we could still Skype you in.
Yeah, and it'd be really cool because then you get their perspective on how the program is going and how training is going. But it is quite interesting because the Nepali students have a very rigorous exam schedule, so a lot of the time they actually don't get to work on the drone. So as you can see, we can build a drone in a week, but for them it is much harder because they only get about an hour and a half, 2 hours every week, and other than that, they have to study for their exams because you have to do own school. But they still work on it when they can, and they do update the website. And people are really interested. I think when I was over there, it was 14 newspapers and 3 television interviews. So everyone wanted to know what was going on. Oops. So yeah, you can see the time lapse of me working on the drone. That's all on the Nepal Robotics YouTube page. Oops. There we go. So the other thing that I've always tried to do is comply with FAA laws. Where I live, I'm in the 15-mile no drone zone, so that means that I am not allowed to fly my drone under any circumstances whatsoever. Yep.
Is that the Potomac area where they said if they somebody scared, they'll come looking for you?
Yep.
Nice.
So what I've been doing is obviously complying with drone law. I am registered with the FAA. I do have a drone number in here. I'll actually pass the part around where you can see I put it on, and even the underside of my drone has its FAA drone number on it, just to make sure that if anybody has any questions, they know that I am, registered and properly going through all the hoops. Exactly. The other thing that I've been working on, which I know you were also working on at Smith College, the whole netting system. So this is a 20 by 20 by 10 box where I can take, not really the octocopter, but like small drones like the quad or the racing drone. I can sort of get familiar with the manual flight controls if I'm not doing something autonomous. And it's really helpful because I don't have to drive out pretty far to a field or wherever to test. So it's pretty helpful.
Any large facility, granted the FAA claims dominion over anything above the ground, any large warehouses or
Hangar?
a gym, a school gym.
Yeah, you can do it inside a school gym. But
Well, the beauty of this is he'll still get GPS.
That's true. He gets GPS. And,
Yeah, being totally indoors, it would be.
Yeah. I'm thinking
Very
we
difficult.
have a large gym, and that's where we'll be practicing just basic indoor maneuvers.
Yeah.
We don't know how much the signal. I doubt we'll get a GPS. We have windows nearby, but I don't get enough satellite video to tell. But anyway, just basic.
You-
An
yeah.
indoor GPS positioning system. Indoor positioning system. It's a trade-off.
The trade-off, as long as it's at relative quarters, right? Relative to where launch is.
But you can look also on the map to see where you guys are, and if there's a field where you're not in the restricted flight
You should be
zone,
out.
you are educational institute.
Yeah.
So you should be able to fly outdoors if you're not within
We're
like
27 miles away
restrictions.
from Reagan National and
Oh.
Dulles.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're,
yeah,
you're
we're
oh
totally-
yeah.
Yeah, so we're outdoors,
Oh, God,
but I'm
yes.
just going, there's going to be days when I want to test that doesn't go flying, you know.
Yeah. Well, you'll have your geofence set, so you will be fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one thing that I did not have while working on this is like a geofence setup, which again I can't really use anyway. The FAA doesn't play nice with anything other than you are under a roof. The drone will stop if it flies off.
Right.
So, yeah, but yeah, you can see that's kind of how.
What was the cost for you to put something like that together?
$150. I just want to.
Netting and everything.
Yep, netting, everything, cement. That all of that is in the YouTube video's description. Every single part is listed out with the unit price and then the total price, and also a link to where you can buy it. Yep. Because I really want people to like look at this, and if they see that video, they can say, "Oh, well, you know, I can do that too if I really have to." Because even if this is largest no drone zone, there are others across the country which people will still have to comply with. And in Nepal, the law is, you know, it's strictly forbidden unless you get government approval, which we did. But again, students at the school probably also have to make a net like this just to do basic testing. So, presentation to Kashmir World Foundation. Summer of last year, I ran into one of Aaliyah's interns, and she was talking about all the work that Kashmir World Foundation does in the local community, and I thought it would be really awesome to actually connect. I presented the project, and I assume you like it because I'm still here today, and we're working together. So, again, presentation is to garner support for the project. That's why I do stuff like this all the time. I've approached businesses like Aurora Flight Sciences, which is a name that's popped up in this conversation before, and they offered me an internship for experience. Kashmir World Foundation offered me an internship for experience, which is awesome. So I'm getting not only that, you know, hands-on experience, but also connections with people in the community, which is especially huge in this area because you've got a lot of like defense contractors and aerospace contractors just floating around willing to help when they can. And again, after the presentation, we started to work closely together, and Aaliyah let me bring the Kashmir World Foundation curriculum to Nepal for testing to see how it worked out. The other thing is funding. So again, I'm paying most of this out of pocket. All of it out of pocket. So I created an Indiegogo campaign. I raised a total of $5,000, which is fantastic because all the money goes into the project, either paying for travel expenses like plane tickets or actually buying drone kits for the students. So, you know, I'm a college student, so I really don't need it. I'd rather just give it to the students because they can utilize it a lot better than I can. So second iteration is Guardian. That is this monster right here, and he is in pieces, yes, but he did actually have a complete system a few months back. And he was equipped with the same thing that was on my quadcopter, this Mini APM Pro. It used to be a Pix Mini, but that broke, so kind of had to work with what I did, and it still works. So, again, it's equipped with a thermal camera, which you can see right there. It was a FLIR. This FLIR is not export controlled. That was the biggest thing. So the thing that changes export control law is not the capability, but the frame rate and the resolution, right?
Yeah. So it's 30 hertz.
Right.
In terms of what you cannot export out. And this is the first FLIR camera that came out for like, almost like, I don't want to say amateur, but kind of like not on that
Not
expensive military grade. And the cost of it was relatively cheap compared to other thermal cameras. So it's $3,000, I think, or $3,500, because there's,
$2,000.
or $2,000, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
it's a pretty pricey sensor.
For a FLIR, you know.
But yeah,
but
but that's,
from drone perspective, wow.
yeah, for that perspective, you know, if you compare it to like $8,000, what it used to be is what you could get, and you compare that, it's relatively more affordable. But yeah, this is the one that came out. So they actually came out with the FLIR View.
Right.
The first one, it was horrible because it didn't have a digital input or anything, no SD card. So they decided in a couple of months, literally, to upgrade it and just add the SD card. So now the new ones do have the SD card. So it just runs like a regular camera, and then you could just pull that data off.
Yeah, and I actually, if I remember it, I have a test video on my YouTube channel that I'll play after this. But
And I'll bring mine tomorrow for sure. Yeah.
but it's really cool. The FLIR does come with, it's actually a GoPro mount, which is kind of interesting. So anything that you can put a GoPro on, the FLIR is actually smaller than the GoPro, which is pretty cool. And it's also ridiculously light. So it's interesting because I actually built this whole system to carry like a huge payload, but that FLIR really didn't need much. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh yeah, the documentation for this. So all I can say is that this frame is very difficult to build, not because its directions are confusing, but because there are almost none online. So I not found any specifications for this. It's literally just put screw in part and then assemble it.
Your experiment, you are the documentation. You are
Pretty much.
You're creating it yourself. So.
Right. So the reason that it's missing, it actually has two plates on top, is I'm remaking all the carbon composite framing because if it does break in the field, I do not have a replacement. It's crazy expensive to replace it, so I'm actually just making it out of, I believe anodized aluminum is the one I decided on. So that will be done probably within the next 2 weeks. And yeah, so.
You'll put up a video showing us you're flying it?
A video showing you building it, maybe.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, exactly. Flying it, that's kind of difficult because it really only flew in Nepal, and that video is locked away somewhere on my computer. But
Do you have plans to go back to Nepal?
yes, I plan to go back to Nepal again March of next year. So acquiring the drone kits in October, I purchased 6 drone kits from Kashmir World Foundation, and I had the opportunity to actually attend their workshops to see, how this program is done, and it was really cool because they had, that was a huge one. Actually.
It was a pretty big workshop. I can't remember how many teams we had, but I want to say maybe 6 or 7 teams. Yeah.
It was like 7. So it was a pretty big group, but it was still handled very well. So it was kind of awesome to see, anyone who just wanted to build drones, they could walk in and you got the whole 9 yards. You got the building, the flying safety, all that good stuff. So it was pretty cool. So in November, 2 teachers from Conjuroa actually came to the U.S. to visit my old high school, Bullis, and they began talks of collaboration to work together on the class level, so designing a curriculum around working together during the school year and designing drones together, solving problems and helping the community. That's still a work in progress, as Aaliyah mentioned. They're coming over in late September, and they're probably going to be talking with Bullis some more to see what they can do. But again, the Nepali school year is very different from ours. They have like summer vacation in April, and then they start school in May. So it's like a pretty big 3-month gap. So we'll have to see what actually comes out of that. So again, trip to Nepal, basically just taking this guy, doing the same thing again. This time I had the kits to bring to the students, so it's basically like teaching a workshop without any help but the PowerPoint. But it actually worked out pretty well. They did build a drone in about 6 hours from scratch to flight, which was actually a lot faster than I thought it would go. Even for me, it takes a long time to set up a drone. They're smart kids, and they are super motivated. It wasn't really a huge issue. The other thing that I did is I continued to build relations with not only Conjuroa, but the local schools. I met with the Minister of Education for all of Nepal. He was super interested to start moving this drone program to the public school setting and actually start implementing it everywhere. I don't know, my hope is that Nepal actually becomes an area with people who are extremely technically competent in drone technology, and then companies actually seek out Nepali students who have that know-how that they learn at such a young age. Like these are 8th, 9th, and 10th graders who suddenly know how to build drones, they know how to wire them, they know all the electrical engineering behind it, all the mechanical engineering behind it. It's really awesome. And again, they're motivated to learn all this stuff. It's not really a challenge to get them interested in the subject.
Mike, is it a co-ed classroom?
Yes, it is a co-ed classroom. We had, I think I did upload a video, but there were, I want to say like 7 or 8 guys and like 4 girls, but it was during exam season, so we didn't really get everyone who is in the club into the classroom.
Mike, were you there during the flight game?
No, I was not, unfortunately. I had to leave before that because I was still completing my senior year of high school. But they did fly it. I do have a video of them flying it. And then here's another time lapse. I think I skipped to here, but you can kind of see how they have it set up. They gave me a classroom, which was awesome, and I brought over some laptops for the students to use. These laptops are like $200, and they work perfectly for the situation that I need. No, Lenovo S100s. They have little Atom processors on them, but they're actually perfect. The only thing that I would say would be problematic is probably video streaming, only because the computer is rendering it, not the drone, and that could be problematic. But as you can see, there's a lot of students, a lot of crowd going on, but they are actually building that drone right there. And they've got a few more that they kind of were tinkering with while we were working on it. Any questions about?
So it does look like mostly boys here.
Yeah, exactly. I think one girl drifted in, but the rest of them were studying. So again, I couldn't really grab everyone. I've been told there are 24. I've met a lot of them, but I haven't actually had the group of 24 for the whole time. So, about this, I'm just going to try to. Playing YouTube videos, and this is a problem. So, lessons learned. I don't know if you can see this photo. This is probably one of my favorite photos of the whole trip. This is literally me on the mountain just staring at the drone. It is on its back, the whole dome on top of it shattered, and it's just totally crashed. But yeah, I think you can see it right there. Still learned a bunch. I still got battery life data. It really still burns through battery. If I had flown for the whole time, you know, from 100% to 15%, it probably would have gone for about 15 to 17 minutes. Ideally, I'm trying to get half an hour out of it, which is kind of a big challenge. Again, a lot of stuff failed during the flight. A lot of stuff just did not work. The radio telemetry was extremely problematic during the time because it was not entirely direct line of sight, especially from the ground station. Like, it's very hilly, very rocky. It's hard to get like a solid connection through there. So I'm still working around. Instead of having the way that this telemetry is set up, which is sort of a direct line between them, I want to have like a dome kind of signal, which is possible. I don't remember what it's called. It's like clover.
Yeah, there's.
Yeah, clover antennas, which are, you know, unlike these, it's like literally a dome shape, and it creates a dome signal, which makes it less guesswork as to where you have to point it. And again, it had a few ESC failures. That's probably because I calibrated them wrong. And the ESCs that I use in here are not the same ones that you guys use. These are designed to take a lot higher load. So again, I'm running like 22 volts through the whole system, which is about twice as much as most consumer equipment can do. And again, this drone is 25 pounds. 8 pounds of that was just battery. It's had about 26,000 milliamp hours, and that was half because I put them in parallel. So this is the current state of the project. 24 students do meet with Summer Club and working on the drones while they're not studying. I work online and on video to help them if they have any issues. So right now we're trying to get past some ESC calibration problems. Again, it seems to be a common issue, but again, we'll get past it. They have been featured in newspapers. They're super excited about that. They love all the media attention because the more schools that get interested in this project, the more likely we can get funding from other organizations to actually pay for the drone kits to give to them. And currently, I am improving the quadcopter, like I said, revamping the frame, revamping the computer system to be able to do video streaming and video analysis so that when we're flying over the avalanche site, if there is any sort of suspicious debris that may be a person, the drone will point that out and show a rescuer where they have to go next. But yeah, that is my whole project. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, I can do a Q&A.
Are you considering fixed wing?
I have considered fixed wing. The wind speeds are too strong. It actually would blow apart the foam frame. So, yeah. That's the only problematic part is that, you know, wind speeds can get pretty crazy. This, I can kind of show you, but these motors are enormous and they are really powerful. And that also contributes to why the battery life is as stellar as because these motors are kind of monsters. And what these are designed to do is compensate for the wind speed. That's also why it's an octocopter. It is carrying a heavy payload. We want that payload to be stable and safe.
High winds.
Yep.
Is there any other battery technologies you can explore?
I know Aaliyah's exploring lithium ion. Unfortunately,
We will have some with us tomorrow. My next aircraft is flying with lithium ion.
I was thought
Yeah.
lithium polymers were light enough that you got enough current, and but you managed to lose weight but get a lot of current output.
right.
Yes.
But apparently,
Yeah.
it's still not enough for what you need.
Exactly.
Well, we'll be working with that, so we will be able to give you guys direct feedback in terms of what we're getting on flight time and how many batteries we need, and then the price difference between the lithium polymer versus
Well,
the
these-
ion. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries. Exactly that. It's really, once we get the flight data, we'll let you guys know.
We used to
what
pay
we're doing with
we used to pay top dollar for batteries, but as long as you get performance, and that's what you want more than anything else. And you,
Yeah.
I mean, these aren't that bad on Amazon, but
Batteries.
these are better.
Batteries were easily one of the most expensive pieces. I would say this drone in total with the thermal camera cost around $5,000.
Okay.
$800 to $1,000 of that was just the batteries, and the frame was about $500, which, since I'm custom manufacturing, will soon not be an issue. But all these motors and ESCs, I want to say each one of these arms, which have the ESC inside of them, I'll take this apart for you guys a little later, probably cost around $120 to $140 per arm.
Like, what kind of range does the thermal scanner get? Like, how much
I'll
snow
show
can
you.
you look through, and
Oh.
how close do you need to be?
So that's a good question. Snow penetration is actually not super great because it's, again, not as powerful as the military grade stuff. You actually get a lot of reflection off of it. What we're using the thermal camera for is anybody who is partially out of the
Okay.
snow. The things that we're
That's our
researching
stealth
are radio direction finding. So that would involve putting a radio array on the bottom of the drone, and then the people would have to have pingers on them.
So like the regular beacon system you use.
This is better.
Exactly.
I'll tell you why.
Exactly. Here, let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. And now, oh, sorry.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself?
Oh,
You
okay.
Create your own professional website.
Thank you.
But all right, so that's at about.
You might want to turn the lights off.
That's how far? did you say?
200 meters,
Okay.
and you can see pretty clearly out there still.
Cool ground, warmer trees. That's you.
Yep.
The yellow,
Yep.
it's hot.
In an avalanche situation, the noob here thinks, you're going to be covered.
Yeah.
How.
So actually, watching avalanche videos, you'd
Yeah.
be surprised at how much doesn't get covered. It's mostly people getting displaced. Again, you are right. People still do get covered, so
Right.
that's why we're looking into the radio direction finding system, because that is actually ridiculously accurate. And the only thing they have to have on them is a pinger. And the fact that those aren't mandatory is actually kind of insane.
Right, you're
because-
going to.
Well, you're paying like tens of thousands
Yeah.
of dollars to go up there, so like a $250 pinger.
You
to find
just give
an
it back when you're
avalanche.
done. Check it out for the week.
Except the range on those is not super far
It
either.
doesn't have to be though. That's what the drone's for.
After the
Yeah,
after
you
the
don't
avalanches
get to
fly,
the right
ding, ding,
location.
ding, there they are.
Exactly. Well, the drone can even just fly out there, land, and then it still can do the radio direction finding.
Right.
It's just a cone, and then if you're looking for people under there, you can, and you've already flown over it, so you would see anybody on top. Then you can land and find anybody under the snow.
Why is it changing like that? Because it sees you more now.
Yes, so it's actually adapting to the
Focusing?
heat,
Okay.
and you can see things get more or less hot based on.
And this was back in March, I think you did this video, right?
Yep. So,
Kind of cool. It was
pretty
kind of
cool.
good. It's cool.
Great.
I've never seen actual FLIR before. That's kind of cool.
yeah, and these thermal cameras are really awesome because you actually control them with like your iPhone. You can change actually the color scheme. So if you want to see white on black or black on white, you can. But I actually chose.
How does it show up if they're completely like covered with high quality insulation, which anybody on Everest would be? They're not going to have much bare,
Exactly.
skin.
Usually their hands are bare, which is what you would be looking for. It does have accuracy enough for that. But you are right. Again, it's all that radio
The
direction
beacon
finding.
would be critical.
I'll be
Yeah,
better.
the beacon's pretty huge. I've been looking into synthetic aperture radar, which I believe somebody at Maryland mentioned a few days ago is a huge thing that they want to work on. Because synthetic aperture radar can penetrate through snow, it can see people through snow. The only major issue is you have to be like almost perfectly still. So you have to land the drone, make sure it's not shifting around in the wind, and then do your scan.
It's like sonar ping and as soon as you get back.
Yep, exactly. Then you can see this is like one of the time lapses. I think this is a later one. There are 20 time lapses in total. This is like part 14 or something. But yeah.
So if the radio beacon is the way to go, what attempts have been made to the government to require this for all climbers?